We had just returned from our trip to Belize, and while we were there, we had done a little bit of serving of the staff there at the place where we stayed. And my wife, who is a physician, took down her blood pressure cuff and some finger stick stuff, and was able to give, just a quick little rundown, a quick little checkup, if you will, with the people that were there. And that was it was a lot of fun, but it just gave us a hankering, if you will, for doing mission-related stuff and serving people. And so we came back from that, and on February 18th, as I'm sitting at the Blue Sky Car Wash on Route 23, and I'm talking with Pastor about all the stuff that we did down there, he's like, Ed, I think that God is calling you into the mission field. And I'm like, no, that can't be. That's completely wrong. He's like, Ed, that's what Paul said. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And so it began there. And I think to myself, it took God, maybe because I'm a slow learner, it took God 61 years to prepare me for this. Andy lives, our contact, which Jacob will show you a picture of here in the video. Andy lives in a small village of about 400 people in the southern end of Belize. And his village is called Aguacate, which means avocado. And in that village, there are 6 churches. One of them is a Roman Catholic church. Andy belongs to a United Pentecostal church. There's a Mennonite church there, and then 3 others. And so, in the immediate time being, Fulton Creek has partnered with people in Aguacate, and we are currently serving 8 families that are in food distress. Andy, we first started with 5, and then it's now gone to 8. Andy has recognized these people. They're in general older Belizeans, people who are relying on their kids for food. And I was looking at some of the statistics for the demographics, if you will, of people in Belize. And Andy and the people in his village, they are Mayans. He is a brown-skinned, dark-haired guy who's about 5 foot nothing, and his village consists of a lot of subsistence farmers. There's not a lot of money down there.
Yeah.
And so I can see why, there's food distress down there. I could possibly see why their churches aren't able to help, because, if nobody has any money, then how are you going to help? But I don't know that that's indeed the case. That's one of the things we want to look at. But maybe there's an opportunity for spiritual revitalization down there. I email Andy just about every day. Andy works at a bird watching lodge down there. It's a place where we met him while we were on vacation. He was one of the guides. And so this guy knows his birds like you and I know the back of our hands. And so we got to hang out with him. He was our guide. He toured us up some super tall mountain that I never want to crawl up again, and looking at plants and birds and stuff like that. And so he would drive us around looking for birds out in the field and stuff like that. And so we got to know him, talk with him. He spent a lot of time with him in a vehicle as you're driving around. So this began with just a simple relationship. And over the time, as you're sitting in there in the car and you're looking for birds, and the conversation wanes, you just start asking people about themselves. So where are you from? And he's like, well, I'm from Aguacate. I'm like, well, where's that at? He says, that is 8 hours away from here in the southern end of Belize. And so Andy's work schedule is 10 days on at the lodge, 4 days at home. And in the interim, there's an 8-hour trip to get him from the lodge to home. And he does that. He makes that trip back and forth once every 2 weeks. So, so as we began to talk and learn about him and his village and stuff like that, his village is carved out of the jungle. And I was like, wow, that sounds really great. I'd really like to visit your village. And he's like, well, we'd love to have you come down there and do that. Down there, in the village, at least in the past, they have had certain homes where you can actually live. People come down, I guess it's like a, what is it?
Like an Airbnb?
Yeah, Airbnb, where B is Belize. So you can go down there and stay. And it's like, and so there's a mechanism in place. And he said, these people are certified by the government to do this. I'm like, okay. And so in the interim here, as we're talking about perhaps going down there next summer, next August, as a church group, I thought it'd be really great to have a cultural experience as well and live with these people. And down there, some of his people live in a thatched roof hut. That's what I would call it. Other people there have cinder block homes, but some of these people are living in huts, thatched roof huts, and with wooden boards on the side. And I don't know anything more than it would cost, I say, $25 a night to stay there, and $7 per meal. And so I think to myself, we potentially have a way to stay down there. It's not very expensive. And this would be big money for his people. Minimum wage in Belize is $2.50 an hour, US. And $25 a day to stay, plus another 21 for the meals, that's big money.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that we can stay with these people and get to know these people. That's, to me, that's what I really want to see, is us building relationships down there with these people. Stuff that's going to stand the test of time. 68% are living below the poverty line. And those people are living on about less than $3 a day. And so if we could do something, bring employment, and that's a big focus of what I'd like to do with this project, is bring employment to his little village. If they worked for 2 hours a day in the morning, let's say, they've just made $5, which is more than what they're spending a day to live. And so I'd like to be able to do that. And so as this thing has unfolded, one of the things that we've noticed is that there just doesn't seem to be employment opportunities for these people. And so my job, what I do is I grow trees. We grow perennials. We grow native trees and perennials. What if we could do that down there? How hard would it be to set him up with doing this kind of stuff, the stuff you did when you worked out there? Mm-hmm. How hard would that be? The idea being that we could set him up with a small nursery to bring employment to him, people in his village. And right now, Belize is in the middle of a national reforestation project. They're in year 5 of a 10-year project. They want to plant over 700 square miles of forest land, which is, it's not forest yet, but that's their hope. And so I'm thinking, where are they going to get all these trees? They're going to need trees. So we have contacted the government. We talked with their forestry people, and they said, yeah, we're doing that. We've got some national nurseries here that we're growing stuff, but my goodness, they're not growing that much. And to give you an idea, in some of the densities that we've talked about in my line of work, they might be planting 600 to 800 plants per acre. And in a square mile, there's like 640 acres. And they want to do 700 square miles. they're going to need millions of trees. Where are they getting all these trees from? And so we talked with them. Andy talked with them, and he's saying, here's what our plan is. We're going to grow these trees. Do you think that you would buy them? And their answer was no. And so they said, we want to patronize our own native nurseries. Okay, that's fine. And so she said, but there's a number of people that have contacted us. They're looking for stuff that we don't have. And I'm like, dude, that's it. That's our little niche. That's what we're going to do. We're going to grow those plants. And if they're hopefully doing it the right way down in Belize, they should want diversity. And if we can grow plants that we know they're not growing, they're going to say, yeah, we'd like a few of these and a few of those species in here. And I don't know what they're making, what they're selling their trees for. I don't really even know how big they are when they sell them. But in Andy's world, when I talked with Andy, I asked him, how much would you need to make in order to feel financially secure? His answer is $5,000 a year. I'm like, okay, if we grew 500 trees, sold them for $10 a piece, and you're probably not going to sell all of them, but my goodness, if you sold half of them, that's pretty great. You're making some real money. And so we could grow, depending upon what the ultimate size of these plants are that hopefully the country or somebody would want. We could easily grow 500 trees in a 1-gallon pot about that big in a 15 by 15 square piece of ground. It's not that difficult. Put little sprinklers on him. He can leave for 10 days. We just have to supply him. We would need to help him with setup. Okay, I figure $2,000 to $3,000 to get him set up. But the thing about this project, this nursery idea, this has the biggest risk, I think, because it's a business venture. I'm not there to supervise. We can email, we can send photographs. But when I started my nursery, I lived right across the street from them. I was over there all the time. I could see what was going south and what was doing great. And so I don't want to ask the church for support for that nursery because of the inherent risk with it. Now, if people want to help out with that, they still can through the church, but I'm not going to ask the church to do that. To me, that's more like an Ed thing. And if it fails, all right, so I'm at a few $1,000s. I don't care. If the church is out that makes a bigger impact for me. And so, I do believe that God has put me in a position, for such a time as this. And I really hope that we can do something where he can have some employees from his village. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but they're going to need millions of trees. Why couldn't we use this as a model for other small villages and form a cooperative where, let's say Andy is the salesperson and people are calling him and say, hey, we need 2,000 trees. He's like, okay, well, I can do this here. We're going to need to go over to this village over here and get a few hundred over here, a few hundred over here. Everybody gets paid. Yeah. And it just shares the wealth, and it gives people really good work. Initially, here in the short term, our focus is going to be on mostly humanitarian issues. And then as we get to know these people, and they get to trust us because, they don't know who we are. They don't know really why we're there. We can tell them this, but I'd rather show them why we're there. We'll shift that from a high percentage of humanitarian aid to a high percentage of spiritual aid. So that's where we want to go. We want to capture the lost, bring them to salvation through Jesus, And so that's going to take some time. In my mind, this is a 5-year project. What I didn't want it to be was like a flash in the pan. We're here for a season and then we're gone. And especially if we're helping people, these 8 families, it doesn't do them really any good, I don't think, to help them for a couple of months, a year. I'd rather have them know that we're going to be around for a while and to help them over a longer period of time. We're spinning a lot of plates here at one time, but it's just so exciting. It's so fun. First of all, I'm just completely blown away that God would use me like this. And I'm thankful for that. But yeah, I think to myself, it would be really great if when my grandkids are old enough, they would say, yeah, my grandpa's a missionary down in Belize. He helps people down in Belize grow trees for their country, and it helps them support their families. I mean, my gosh, that would be the best. Yeah, if they said that about me at my funeral, that would be the best thing ever. I would think, man, I made an impact.